Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Married Now Widowed. We're your hosts. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Nadine, and this podcast is about navigating life after loss through unfiltered conversations.
Hey guys.
Welcome back.
Welcome. This episode, we're going to be discussing how grief has changed our views on life in general and certain things in life.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go first because I feel like grief has changed my view on many things.
A lot of things, yeah.
More things than I can mention in one video.
Yeah.
But number one for me would be not sweating the small stuff.
Yeah.
That would be massive. We've talked about in a previous episode my anxiety, right? I'm just an anxious person. I've always had anxieties in life, but I feel like since losing someone very close to me, it's actually helped my anxiety. I know it doesn't do that for a lot of people, but for me it has, because I can't believe what I've survived and the way that I've come out the other end from it, even though I'm not at the other end yet. I'm really far from that actually.
Yeah.
But the way I've managed to continue on with life is not something that I thought I'd ever be able to do.
Yeah.
So that sort of showed me like, look, you're okay.
Yeah.
You know, you've survived. And that's the most important thing when you're early stages of grief, just to know that you are going to survive.
100%.
It's going to be up and down. It's going to be a crazy road, but you will survive it.
And you will be okay.
100%. And I think that's really helped with other stuff in my life that pre-Muhammad passing away, I would have stressed about. There's no doubt. I would have, especially I relate it a lot, which is strange, but to staff members. So I remember when a staff member would say resign pre-Muhammad passing away.
You would stress out, end of the world.
Meltdown. How is the business going to survive without this staff member? What am I going to do? I can't. Now,
now you don't, not that you don't care, because
I don't want to say I don't care, but it's very different. And you know what's interesting? A lot of people really close to me, like in particular my mum, probably thinks I don't care about a lot of things. And to be honest, I probably don't anymore.
Yeah.
But it's just because I think I see such more important things now. Like there are really things that we need to stress about and worry about.
I get the whole, when you were talking about the staff situation, because just thinking about it now, I feel like I'm the same. Like before, when, like you said, a staff member would resign, I would panic.
Yeah.
I'd be like, shit, what am I going to do? I'm going to lose clients. I'm going to lose business. And now I'm like, the business will survive.
Because you know what? I think that what happens is, I think the way that anxiety can improve is by seeing that you survived something that you didn't think you would. And not always do we mean survive literally, like stay alive, but you got through something that you thought you wouldn't be able to get through. And once you get through it once and you know you can, then you keep going and you keep getting through.
And you keep getting stronger as a person.
Yeah. So I think that's massive for me. It's definitely helped with my anxiety, and I don't care about a lot of things, and I do not sweat the small things at all.
Yeah, definitely.
It's got to be quite a significant thing to actually have an impact on me. Like, you know me, you know how I am. I don't care about much. Like, it's got to be something really big or really something close to me or something like that for me to actually feel affected by it. Otherwise, I just don't have the time of day for it. I don't care about it. It's just not important.
Yeah.
Because I've seen what's important and I've seen what can happen in life, things that I thought would never happen to me.
That's right. And then it has happened to you.
It does happen.
Because I'm sure like everyone, every widower, you would never think that something like that would happen to you and your children. You would never think that you are going to become a young widow.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You would never think that this is going to happen to you. So, yes, you have gotten through it.
Yeah.
And again, maybe not entirely, but like
maybe
you
not
are
made it out the other end.
no, but you're
getting through it.
You're getting
surviving.
through it. Correct. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you're still carrying on, and you're going about your day and your life, you know,
you're
because
still
you have
functioning.
to. Exactly.
You know, and
exactly.
I think it's, you know, anxiety is a lot of fear of the unknown as well. So once you actually are put in an unfortunate enough position to experience some real hardships and you go through them, I think that's why it's helped my anxiety, because I'm sort of like, well, now I know. Now I know what this is like. Not to say that I, you know, would ever want to go through any of that stuff again.
No, but I think it's because you went through one of the hardest times of your life.
Absolutely.
Like nothing can compare. Obviously, you know, we've spoken about this before, loss of a child, a parent, but
it's also on a similar playing field when we talk about grief of other people in our family.
Definitely,
too. So if you think about it, really, what is harder than that in life than someone dying, someone close to you dying? I mean, I don't think life challenges you much more than that. I think that's probably one of the biggest calamities
and
you can face.
100%. But you know what else? It's when your partner passes away, you're always thinking, how am I going to survive this? How am I going to do life on my own?
Of course.
How am I going to raise my children on my own? How am I going to function?
Absolutely.
But then in time, you are raising your children on your own.
You do all those things.
You are, you know, functioning in life on your own. Yeah. You are doing all these things on your own.
Absolutely.
So, but in the moment,
you can't see that.
You will never see that.
100%.
You will never see that.
So many messages on our pages from people who are in like the first 3 months of their grief, and they're always like, you know, wow, like your podcast actually gives me hope, and actually, you know, maybe I'll be like you too. And you absolutely will. And you can never see it, and you don't think it, but you absolutely will get to a stage where you're okay. Even if you're just okay, that's
still
plenty.
Progress.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's still progress.
Yeah, so that's my thing. Another thing for me is money.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So, money, I feel like very different for me now. Very, very different. I'm not going to say like, I'm not going to lie on this podcast, because there's people out there that know me, right? So they, you know, they know. But I'm not going to say I don't care about nice things. Of course I do. Absolutely. I still have nice things. I still like nice things, whatever. But for me, you can't put a price on money that you spend on experiences with people that you love. That's probably the biggest thing I've learned, right? So I've said this story before, but something that really stuck out to me when we traveled, our last family holiday before Mohammed passed away, I remember, you know, there was a particular hotel that we were staying at for a while, and we wanted to extend there, but it was really expensive per night. And Mohammed, he was kind of like crazy like that. He's like, oh, fuck it, who cares, you know? And I was a bit more like, oh, geez, a lot of money when we get back, but all right, do what you want to do. And we ended up staying there, spent a ton of money on this hotel. And I remember after he had passed away, and then, you know, a few months later, and thinking about our holiday and whatever, I was like, God, I'm so glad we did that. Like, there is not $1 of money that we spent living that experience of a family holiday together that I regret. Yeah. Like, thank God. Well, because
you created such beautiful memories.
100%. And it's ultimately like, it just doesn't mean much. Like, it comes and it goes and it comes and it goes. And the most important thing is the people that you're with, and that you have your loved ones with you, and that they're healthy. That is number one. And I don't think that I think my perspective definitely on money changed after I lost Mohammed, for sure. And I'm so glad that we were crazy, and we were probably a little bit irresponsible too. I'm really glad we did all that, you know, because if we didn't, we wouldn't have lived, you know, we wouldn't have got to experience a lot of things.
No,
that
and you wouldn't have created those beautiful memories.
And I would have regret that. If we
Yeah.
ever had not done something because of money, I would have really regretted now that we'll never get the chance to do any of that ever again. Like
Yeah.
it's totally gone. There's no chance of reliving any experiences.
Yeah, that's right.
it. You had a chance to do it. So I'd always say take it and do it. So money changed for me a lot.
Definitely.
A lot.
I think another one
Yep.
is time.
Yep.
So, you know, when like you previously, it would be like, oh, yeah, I'll get around to doing it.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
right.
I'll get around. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah, I'll get around to seeing that person.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I'll get. When you think about it, you really don't know what is going to happen to you.
Absolutely.
And I think about things more like, you know, it could be anything. Time always comes to my mind. If I don't do this now, what if something happens to me? I don't want to.
That's true.
I don't want to regret anything. Do you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
It could be anything. It could be that you haven't seen a friend in a long time,
yeah.
and you're like, you know, ready to catch up with this person, but you're putting it off or whatever. It's time. It's like before I'd probably be like, yeah, like I'll get around to it. Yeah, we'll organize a date soon.
Yes, that's
but now it's like, no, you know what?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's book something in.
Yeah.
Let's lock something
We'll
in
make
because
it
we
happen.
haven't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Timing for me is just so important.
Yeah.
It's so important because you just don't know how
I totally
long you
agree
have
with
left.
that. You really don't. Anything could happen, and you know, obviously, you don't have to be sick or dying for you to die. It can happen instantly, right?
Yeah.
And unexpectedly. So I agree with that.
And I think people who haven't gone through something like this, and I want to say, look, I don't know if it's. Do you think that people that have experienced death, so it could be, I don't know, a grandparent, a parent, do you think that they would have the same like thinking process as somebody who has lost a husband or a wife?
In general or in terms of timing?
In terms of timing.
Yeah, for sure.
You think they do?
For sure, yeah, I do. Because more so a parent, to be honest with you.
Maybe a parent.
100%. Because I think, you know, in life, it's not our fault, right? As humans, we're always, you know, we live very busy lives. Everyone lives a busy life. Everyone has their priorities, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think we just don't live in the moment enough anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that everyone would regret. Like, babe, like, even with my husband who I lived with and was with every single day, I regret not, you know, I don't know, maybe less time on my phone, or maybe when
we should
we're
do
watching
an episode just on regret. Like things that
for
we
sure,
regret.
because there's a lot of things, and they're not necessarily like bad things that like,
No.
oh, I did that to him and I regret it. But it could be like, you know, let's just say, for example, so I'm a smoker, he wasn't, right? And there would be heaps of times at night where I'd go outside, have a few cigarettes, talk to my girlfriends on FaceTime, normal stuff, right? He'd be inside on the couch watching TV or whatever. And sometimes I think back and I'm like, damn, like if only I knew, you know, I would have been sitting next to you, taking in every single moment that we had, you know. Maybe sometimes, I don't know, he wanted to get up early and go for a walk, and I was like, oh, leave me out of it. I want to sleep, you know. But I think if we have that at the forefront of our mind, and maybe it does take to experience a loss to understand it and to put that into action. Because I know now with me, I say yes to a lot of things usually I would like to say no to, but I just say yes, you know, especially when it comes to my son. I could be exhausted, you know, whatever. Oh, can we go, you know, and I'm like, you know what, let's just do it, because you just don't know what's going to happen.
100%.
And I think I hear it a lot with clients that have lost parents, and I hear it a lot not just with clients, but even people that have podcasts or reels or TikToks that have lost their parents. They live in a lot of regret, because I think that when we're younger, we move out, we start a family, and we're busy, and we sort of forget about our
Life
parents.
does
and it's
get
so
in the way.
sad, right? And I think that it's not done on purpose, but I think if you just hold a little bit more weight to thoughts like that and actually make the effort to see them and spend time with them, you'll probably be a little bit more at peace,
and you
when
will appreciate the time that you did spend with
I think
them.
it's so important because you'll want to, especially when they're your parents and you have a good relationship with them. Like, you'll want that. You'll want that. You know, I often think about when Mohammed passed away, immediately I was spending a lot more time with my mum because she was helping me a lot more, right?
Of course.
And sometimes I look at how close we are. We've always been close, but now we see each other more. When I was married, we'd probably see each other maybe like once or twice a week, right? Which is still a lot, but me and my mum were close and we were used to seeing each other every day. But it would go to sort of like once a week, twice a week. And I always think back to that and I'm like, gosh, I couldn't imagine that now. Like, I couldn't imagine not seeing you all the time. And if that didn't happen, how often would I be seeing you?
Yeah.
You know, like stuff like that I really think about, and it's not done with any malice intent.
No, of
it's
course
just
not.
life, and it's part of growing up and starting your own family.
Yeah, and everyone's busy and everyone's
100%,
working. And,
but I think it's just important to remember people. Just remember people that you love and you care about and making the effort.
Yeah, I agree. Now, do you think that people that haven't lost it wouldn't really be at the forefront of their mind?
No. And you know what? Let me tell you something. I relate this very similar to having children, right? Before you have children, you think you understand what it's like to be a parent.
Yeah.
You say you get it. You can imagine. Maybe you're a childcare worker and maybe you raised your siblings. You will never understand until you become a parent, and I relate that to grief as well. Maybe you're a therapist and you think you get it, and I understand that, and you do have perspective and knowledge on it. I get that, but you just won't get it until it happens to you. That's the truth. And so, no, I don't. And I hate to say that about people that haven't lost people, because I'm not saying that they don't understand or they don't use their common sense and can imagine what it would be like. But
they wouldn't understand.
I promise you will not understand until you lose a person close to you.
So close to you as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing for me, something that's changed after grief in terms of perspective. I mean, everything's changed, to be honest. I think we can both agree that there's not really anything that we see through the lens that we used to view things from.
Yeah.
I would say a big one for me is relationships, whether it's with a partner of the opposite sex or whether it is a friendship.
I agree.
It's so different now. It is so different now. I feel like I have more boundaries, number one. I feel like I'm very selective because I really only have time for people that I really care about and want to have time for.
But you know, the thing with that is, because I'm definitely the same. Like, I can tell you now, there are certain people that I probably no longer speak to anymore.
Yeah.
Not because I don't love them or care about them. There are certain people that I do love and I do care about.
Yeah.
For me, I just feel, going back to that time thing, if you're not going to meet me halfway and I'm expected to put in all the effort, then for me, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point? You might love me and care for me. I might love you and care for you. But if you're not going to meet me at a certain point, then why am I expected to put in all the effort?
Yeah.
Prior to Mick passing away, I wouldn't have cared so much about that. And I'm not saying I'm the type of person where if you call me, like if I call you, then I'm not going to call you again. You're expected to call me. I'm not that type of a person.
Yeah.
I'll call you and message you and whatever. But I'm talking about like genuinely making effort for somebody. Genuinely making effort. Because for me, if you love and care somebody, if you love someone and you care for them, you're going to genuinely make that effort for them.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Yeah.
And so if you're not meeting me halfway, love you and care for you, but you're just at a distance.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally get that. I think as well, when it comes to friendships and relationships as well, you know, it's one of those things where obviously you're a very different person, and we've spoken about that in previous episodes, right? So sometimes it's kind of hard to maintain the relationship that you had before because you've changed. Do you know what I mean? I'm different. So let's say, for example, you've been my best friend for 15 years. The way I was as a best friend prior to Muhammad dying is probably different to the way I am as a best friend
because
after he died.
You're not going to
I'm
take
not the
shit
same. That's it. Well,
from
I'm
people.
very different, and I just think that we value different things. You know, like you just, a death like that hits you really hard, really, really hard.
I think I've said this in previous episodes. We both have.
Yeah.
Coming out of something like this, you cannot be the same person.
Of course not. Of course not.
You cannot.
How can you?
Yeah.
It's trauma. Something traumatic has happened in your life. You know, when other traumatic incidents happen to people, they're not expected to be the same person. People say, oh, that event changed them forever, right? And so does losing your husband. Yeah. Like, it will change you forever. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. You don't necessarily turn into a worse person. You're just different. Some people might turn into worse people, absolutely, but you're just a different person.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing ever, which I always talk about on the podcast, always talk about to everyone, clients, I tell them this all the time. I just don't care what people think anymore. I can't even care if I tried. Like,
were you like that before?
To an extent, sure. Not this bad though. I've always, as you know, been the black sheep of my family. I've always done what I want to do, never listened to anyone. I'm always going to do my thing. I'm always going to do what I want. However, in the past, I feel like I did care a little bit more about what people's opinions would be of maybe a certain action that I made or something like that. Now, babe, I just can't care.
Yeah.
I can't. I really can't, because I've really seen what life is about. And I've really seen, you know, as we always say, like, people, you spend your whole life trying to make sure they're okay with your actions, make sure you're doing the right thing.
You're pleasing other people and not yourself.
And then they just go, babe. They just go. You know, I was talking to someone in my in-laws last week about a particular person that was really, really close to Muhammad. Babe, I have not seen them, heard from them in years. Like, not a text, babe. Yeah. Not a fucking text. Not even about my kid. And you know, when I tell you how close these two were, and I know how much my husband loved this person, like loved them genuinely. You know what I mean? Would put so much effort into the friendship. First one to be at a barbecue when they held one. First one to pick up something for that person. Group chats, hours on it. Like, I just can't believe it. I can't fucking believe it.
Yeah.
And then I think, like, wow. And you know what's funny? You're someone that if you would come to the house, I would, you know, we'd care about your opinion. You know, I'd make sure that I'm dressed modestly because I don't want you to think anything. You know, you're a very close person to my husband. You know, we'd make sure we'd have all the food in the world to feed you, and so you can be happy.
Yeah.
We'd do all of that.
You put the effort in.
100%, because we cared about your opinion and we cared about how you felt about things. And, you know, we'd never want to make you, like, we like,
you were like family.
You. Yeah, technically I think they actually are family too on top of that, which is even worse.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, he really, really loved you, and he cared about what you thought of him, and he cared about what you thought of him as a friend. And then he dies and you don't give a fuck just like that.
About his wife and kid.
Yeah. Like,
yeah, that hurts.
Zero.
You know what it is? You go through the whole losing your husband and the grief, and you're a changed person because of that. But then things that life teaches you after they pass away, and it might not even be like straight up, it could be like a year, 2 years later, you learn a lot about people, about relationships. And I think that's where also you're like, well, you know what? What the fuck? Like, I actually don't give a fuck.
And it doesn't matter if I love you or not. I still don't give a fuck about what you think. It's not about like, I don't give a fuck about your opinion. Who are you to me? No, it's not about that. I can love you. I still don't care what you think of me. And I never will, because you know what? We're all our own people. We all do things. We all make decisions. We all make choices. And honestly, each to their own. I don't give a fuck about what you're doing. Don't give a fuck about what I'm doing. My decisions won't affect you as much as in your head you might think they do, because people do that a lot. They make everything about them, and they think that, oh, if Kayla does that, like it's not, because we're our own people. We're both adults. So even if I love you, I still don't care. And you know what's
interesting? What's interesting is the people that were the closest to your husband, okay, or even the closest to you, and they're the ones that have not made effort, have not, called to check on you, have not fucking, sent even a text message, yet they're the ones that are they're the first people to come and judge you.
Oh my gosh.
When you've not been in my life for 4 years or 2 years or 3 years or however long it's been, yet you are the one that wants to come and judge me when you know nothing about me.
100%. 100 million.
You know nothing about me.
That's exactly right.
But they're the first ones. Have you realized that?
Babe, this person made up a rumor about me.
Have you told me this?
Yes, absolutely. Like 6 months or, I don't know, 4 months or, 4 months after my husband died, made up some fucking weird rumor because they're just a fucking loser. Like, what are you doing? What are you actually doing?
And they hadn't contacted you in that 4 months?
They did contact me a little bit after his death. Maybe I would say I probably ceased contact at I don't know. I haven't heard from them in the last over 2 years. Definitely. I haven't heard from them. Nothing. And to me, that is wild. Not even a text.
I know.
It's a fucking text message. How are you?
Yeah.
How's Hader?
Yeah.
It's just one text. You can't even do that. You're a piece of shit. You are. You're actually a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But again, I actually don't care because I don't care about you. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
And then you hear of stories where like someone has died and then their closest people are there to pick you up and pick everything up.
What about my recent story?
I know.
Okay. So I met a friend and I didn't know much about this person, and they had told me, one of my friends, like, they passed away and I'm really, really close with their partner. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, of course. Like, that would be my responsibility. Like, as a best friend, that's literally my duty, right? And I was like, geez, you're good.
And I remember Kayla rang me and we were FaceTiming because that's what we do. And she was telling me this story. And I remember I looked at her and I was like, what the fuck? And then she literally was thinking the same thing I was thinking. And that was, fuck, there are good people out there.
Yeah. But that's how it should be. I feel like that's literally how it should be, So
it's sad,
Yeah, it is sad.
Yeah.
It is sad, but I don't know. I don't care. I just can't care about these people. I just don't have it in me to even, as I always say, I get sad because of what Muhammad would think. That's what makes me sad.
Yeah,
I personally don't give a fuck about them, but gosh, he'd be so disappointed in them. So disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Unreal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I need to talk about something random.
Yeah.
If that's okay.
Go for it.
So my client, and she said I could share this story. I just have to leave out some certain details. My client's, her father passed away.
Yeah.
Okay. her father's best friend,
Yeah.
who's a male, stepped in and really looked after them in the household. I don't know if it was financial, but it was definitely emotionally supported them. It could have maybe been a little bit financial, but was just really there for his mate's wife and his mate's children.
Yep.
Then they got married. What's your thoughts?
The wife and the friend?
Yeah. And the kids are thrilled about it. Yeah, they are. The kids are like,
That's tops.
he's a What's tops?
That's tops.
Oh,
The kids are thrilled about it.
No, the kids are adults, mind you. So obviously their way of thinking is a little different.
Yeah.
But they're like, yeah, this guy, like, he did everything for us after my dad died. Like, yeah, he stepped in.
Wow.
He looked after us. He raised us after my dad
Wow.
died. Yeah. And yeah, like him and my mum, obviously got close emotionally dealing with my dad's death. My mum lent on him for support, blah, blah, blah. One thing obviously led to another. They got married happily ever after. What's your opinion?
Well, it's not like he's alive and they got divorced and then she
Yeah.
got with the friend.
Yeah.
He passed away.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't think there's an issue, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think that's so nice.
So, same.
I think
don't know.
that is actually so
me
nice
too.
that the best friend stepped in to look after the wife and the
I
children
think
and raise the children.
I agree, just not my best friend with my husband.
Yeah. But
I
let me
do
ask
think
you this.
if you
Okay.
married Mohammed when
No.
I died.
Let me ask you this. Think about it like this. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you rather
Stranger.
wait? Fucking let me talk. Would you rather a stranger that you have never met come in and raise your children? And who knows how she is? She could be a bitch, could be bad, could be, who knows?
Yeah.
Or would you rather your close friend who you know like so well, like it's your best friend, right? You know, you've watched her raise children. You've seen her with your son. You know that she's going to be good to your son. What
Maybe
would you?
It's not a bad idea.
What would you rather?
Now that I'm thinking about it.
You're dead, babe.
Yeah. Are they having sex?
Well, if they're married,
Okay.
but just think
Can
about
get
it like
behind
that.
it. Yeah.
Would you rather a stranger?
No, I'd probably rather because
Or
my
would
best
you rather
friend
somebody your best
loves
friend?
me, so she'll tell my kids all about me. This is not a bad idea. Honestly, that's all right.
I've heard stories where the brother marries the wife.
Oh, get fucked.
Swear to God.
No, get fucked.
I swear.
Sorry.
Oh, you draw the line at the friend. Like,
Only because of the sex.
yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just the sex that does it for me. If you don't have to, if there was no sex, still draw the line, but can see, but fucking brothers.
But I'm just saying, I've heard.
Me too.
I've heard that.
Me
I've heard
too.
stories.
Many times, in fact. And I understand the concept behind it. Really, I do. From an emotionally mature standpoint,
Yes.
I totally understand the concept behind it and why it would work and why it might be a good fit. However, can't fuck your brother. I can't personally. That's
I wouldn't be able to either. Oh my God.
No.
No.
So,
No. Yeah, no.
but I mean, good on you.
Yeah, but no judgment.
Go for it. No, never judgment on this podcast. Never.
No judgment at all.
I'd like to hear a story if you want to send them in.
Yeah.
If you've married your brother-in-law or your sister-in-law or
Your best friend.
Yeah, can you send them in? That's what I want to hear about.
I don't think
get
that
those
that's
happening.
No.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. With the friend one. I'm like,
Because if you really think about it, like
Yeah.
I said before, would you rather a stranger who you don't know?
Yeah, no.
She doesn't know anything about you. She's not going to.
That's right. She's not going to tell my kids.
No, she might just say, oh, your mum.
Yeah, or not say anything at all. Your
mum, you know, would be proud of you.
Or maybe
your mum. But your best friend is going to share stories. Everything. You know what your mum and I used to get up to?
She loves me.
Yeah.
And if I chose you as my best friend, that's because I align with your values, your morals. I like the way you raise your children.
That's exactly right.
You know what? I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I like it.
You weren't 5 minutes ago.
I was hesitant about sex is it's where I draw the line.
You're dead.
I know.
What are you going to do?
Nothing. Yeah, true. Maybe it's because I don't know what it's like to be dead and not have those jealous feelings. I just know what
you're not going to be jealous when you're dead.
No, I won't be. But if I could see it, yeah. No, I think I'd be a humble dead person anyway. You know, I'd be
I think you would be.
I'd be soft dead. Do you know what I mean? Now I'm like, yeah. No,
because don't forget if you were to get divorced, nah, like
no way,
get stuffed,
friendship severed,
gone.
Yeah,
you can fuck that right off.
Yeah,
absolutely
wild.
Not. But if you're dead,
you're dead. That's it. You're dead.
Know. I think I would rather my husband be with somebody that I knew. Because like you said, you picked your best friend.
I've jumped
you align with their values, the way they raise their children.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, okay. Send in your stories.
Please do.
I'd love to hear, especially if you've married your brother-in-law or your sister-in-law.
You just want the tea.
Yeah, I know.
You just want the tea.
Yeah, it's all anonymous, guys. I want to read it for my personal enjoyment, to be honest.
And if we can share them, let us know.
We can keep everything private. And we can change the story up a little bit just to keep you anonymous.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's I like that one. Yeah, that's Okay, I'm all for these marriages now. Changed. Not that anyone gives a fuck or should give a fuck about my opinion. No. Nor mine. Nobody. No. But if you wanted it.
But I feel like there are a lot of people out there with that opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Like I've heard, he passed away and then she went with the brother or went with she married the friend or she this or that. Yeah. Like I've heard a lot of people say that.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
At the end of the day, I think the partner, that being the husband or the wife, I think at the end of the day, all they would want is to make sure that if there are children, that the children are treated well.
That's right.
They're looked after. They're cared for. And the wife or the husband is 100%. Looked after and cared for.
Absolutely.
I don't think it matters. I don't think they would care about who it was.
Yeah, I agree.
It could be the neighbor. It could be anyone at the end of the day. It doesn't matter whether it's a friend or not a friend. I don't know. I almost think would they want – because for me, I would – rather know the person than not know the person.
No, when you put it that way, me too, because if you don't know the person, anything could happen, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's really true. Interesting. All right, guys. Well, we'll wait to hear from you. I look forward to reading these stories.
Yes. You know what? We're going to put a question box.
Yes, we will. Yes,
let's put a question box just in case. So you guys, in case you guys forget.
Yes, sounds good. Hope you enjoyed that episode, guys. We will be back next week. And as always, Married Now Widowed on all platforms. If you're sitting here watching this video, please take 1 second to subscribe. It means the world to us and it's free. Also, if you are grieving or you're a support person for someone that's grieving, please check out our Facebook community group, Married Now Widowed, a safe space. We talk about things that we don't share so much on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. So it's a different, bit of a different vibe there, but it's a safe space. Everyone's going through the same thing. You can post what you want. We share things all the time. So follow us there, join our group, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.